And so the other thing that we are looking at here, folks, besides the rainfall and expecting of the storm conditions for Oscar, also noting the storm surge, water levels of 1 to 3 feet above normal tide in areas of the north shore of Cuba on areas of onshore winds. So again, we're expecting, especially in the tighter core here of where the eye is now making landfall. We're expecting a lot of those storm surges to occur within these areas. Again, we'll closely monitor the progress of Oscar as we go forwards in time. Again, we'll update as we go forwards. Now, folks, I do want to have a quick look here at what we will likely be looking at as we go forwards in time. Now, after Oscar moves up and out the way, we are looking at again the possibility of again another tropical development in the Western Caribbean as we get into the latter portions of this month and getting into early November. I want to point out a couple of things here as we go forwards. Again, we'll closely watch the models as we go here, but as we go forwards here, folks, we're going to be turning our eyes yet again to the western portions of the Caribbean basin. Again, as we get into the last week or so, the last few days of October and getting into early November. And again, everything is coming together to allow for this. And again, it is quite impressive that we had Nadine and Oscar form when the overall base state of the environment has been rather unfavorable due to, again, the MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation, essentially the wave of favorable rising motion in the atmosphere that would allow for tropical development. Hasn't really been over on the Atlantic side recently. It's been over on the Asia side of things. But we could see this here where, again, green is rising motion in the atmosphere and the orange and reds here are the sinking motion, the unfavorable motion in the atmosphere. We could tell here that as we go forwards into the last bit of the month and into November, we are starting to see that favorable pattern set in here. We're starting to see the greens show up here for the Atlantic side of things as we do get into November. And then November overall looks fairly favorable across the Atlantic basin as we go through the month. And so we're looking at November being fairly busy here for the Atlantic as we go through the rest of the month and into November. So quite interesting to take note of that. And we could see this again in a lot of the forecast guidance. Again, I want to point out here the favorable areas of development for the Atlantic and Caribbean region is essentially within this vicinity here. And we could see here on the different guidances essentially where things are heading to as we look through all of this here. These are all the different forecast guidances that are run for the MJO pattern. And we could definitely see, again, a pattern more towards getting into the more favorable side of the Atlantic. So we'll be watching for development as we go forwards in time. So to note, we are looking at potentially seeing something coming up here in the Caribbean. Here, let me just note. So it's in the forecast guidance. We are seeing, again, in the latter portions of the upcoming weekend, getting into next week, an area of low. Let me change the color here, folks, to that so we could see the big clear. We are looking at a area of low pressure to develop somewhere in this area. And again, the overall likely stirring flow, the climatologically norm stirring flow here would be that whatever that does develop here in the Western Caribbean will likely be pulled either towards the north or towards the northeast, or even off to the east northeast, which is the sort of typical pattern that we see for this time of year. So we're going to be watching that as we do go forwards in time. And of course, we will have some more updates as we do go, and we'll update on that throughout the week. For now, that's all from us here at Cape Hurricane Center. Again, we'll be back with some more updates on Oscar and, of course, whatever else comes about.